Elotes, or Mexican street corn, could quite possibly be a perfect food. Roasted sweet corn, slathered in mayo, sprinkled with cotija cheese, spices, and lime juice. When it all comes together and you bite into it, it's unbelievable. And recently I've seen these corn ribs pop up. I'm not huge into jumping into food trends, but some of them are great, and this is one of them. It's fun to make, it's fun to eat, fairly easy to put together. And honestly, to me, they kind of look like barbecued ribs when they're all said and done and coated in the spices. So if you've got somebody who doesn't eat meat at a barbecue, this is the perfect thing for you to make. So today we're making elote corn ribs. But if you could quickly hit the like button down below the video, that is a really easy and cheap way to help support this show if you like the videos we're doing here. Now let's just jump right into it. Now, to be honest, the one tricky thing with this recipe is cutting the corn into the rib. All we really want to do is cut the top off and cut the bottom off, and just make sure we have a flat end on either side. So just feel out where the end is. Now we can just peel off the husk. Then give it a little rug burn. You should have a nice clean ear of corn. You can save these edges if you want to make a corn stock. Now what you want to do is line your knife up to the middle of the ear of corn and then stand it up. You want to angle your knife downward, so you're going to allow the knife to do its job by using the edge of the blade. And once you've got a nice stable sort of situation and you're straight down, just take your top hand and just hammer in the knife. We're gonna do the exact same thing, except we're just gonna be a little bit more careful to try and get it So I've got my oven preheated to about 425 degrees, and what I'm gonna do is just coat these guys in a little bit of avocado oil or some neutral oil. We're gonna season it with a little bit of salt, and we're gonna get that into the oven and just roast that until you can start to see the kernels start to pull away from each other and they become nice and tender. Get it all nicely coated in oil, and then orient them all on one of their sort of edges. Now while that cooks, we gotta make our little spice mixture. A lot of the way that I make elotes is from watching street vendors in Mexico making it. And what I found is after slathering mayo on it, they would just go on and pour various different like shades of different colors of seasoning, and it kind of like decorated the whole corn, and they kind of covered it generously. So we're gonna go with the same idea. And by covering that exterior, it's gonna look a little bit more like an actual smoked pork rib. The main element's gonna be sumac. This is a seasoning that has a lot of citrusy kind of notes to it. So we can cover it and it won't like sort of overpower us with flavor. We've got paprika. That doesn't have a huge intense flavor to it, but it's subtle. We've got some chili powder that does have flavor, so that's gonna bring some flavor to the whole seasoning, and some cayenne for heat, which is gonna balance out the sweetness of the corn. So in a bowl, we go with some sumac, maybe 2 to 3 tablespoons. Another 2 tablespoons of the paprika. Tablespoon or 2 of the chili powder. Half tablespoon, half teaspoon of the cayenne, just for some heat. It's up to you. And then just mix that up. That sumac actually has like a lime flavor going to it. So that with the chili powder and everything, it's gonna complement this really well. So we're just gonna set this off to the side. That should be enough. If not, you can always throw some more together. Just gonna cut up some lime for garnishes. There's 2 ways I like to cut lime segments. Take the top and the bottom off, cut the lime in half lengthwise, cut that half down the middle, and then those pieces in half. But I actually prefer this triangle shape. So we're just gonna cut the limes in half, cut those halves into 2, and then those halves into these little pyramids. And then we have cotija cheese. And I know this looks like Parmesan cheese and it's very similar, but it's different. Harder to find. So if you cannot find this, Parmesan cheese is gonna work really well, but make sure your Parmesan cheese is grated like dust for this. Now the corn's been roasting for about 10 to 15 minutes. Smells awesome. I'm getting a corn fritter smell, so we might have to make corn fritters this year. Now just give them a rotate. You know, maybe don't do this with your bare hands. And then get it back into the oven for like another 10 minutes. Another 10 minutes goes by, we give them a check. I like the color. The corn's starting to curl, which is okay. And the corn is starting to loosen up from the stalk. We're gonna turn the broiler on now and then just try and brown the corn to finish it. We don't wanna start popping kernels because that's gonna ruin the deliciousness of the corn. We wanna make them nice and plump and tender. So we're just gonna broil them for a few minutes on each side, rotating them halfway through until we've just got some nice color that we like, and we can see that the corn has gotten softer and the kernels are starting to pull away from each other. This could also very easily be done on the grill and be fantastic. I maybe broiled these for a total of 5 to 8 minutes, but it was on the middle shelf and not the top shelf, so you've got to consider that. These are ready. Sort of, you see how they're flexible and the corn kind of comes out like that, can separate when it bends. It's a good idea that you know they're done. And I mean, you could eat them raw, you could eat them overcooked. There's no real wrong way to eat them. So the hard part's done, now's the fun part. We're gonna let them just cool down until I can deal with them with my hands without burning myself. So what we have here is what I would call a 3-stage elote station. We've got our mayo, we've got our cotija cheese, and we've got our seasoning, and that's the order in which we're gonna do this. So I really like to get a nice coating of mayo directly on the corn. That's gonna allow everything like this cheese to stick really nicely to it and for the spices to really coat it well. And then I like to take the corn into the spice and just sort of dip it so that it gets a nice full coating and it gives it that real rib kind of look that I'm looking for. I mean, that looks like a rib to me. Now the way you gotta eat it, you squirt some lime juice right on top of it. And you dig right in. Oh man. You throw a platter of these on the table at a barbecue, they will get destroyed, I promise. I honestly just forgot I was filming a video. I'm gonna leave the link down to this recipe down below. It's fairly straightforward and it's something you need to be making this year. Now, if you're having trouble finding sumac locally, you can definitely get it online. I do recommend this spice mixture. It does balance everything out really nicely. But other than that, that's all that I have today. I'm gonna finish up my corn ribs. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Until then, take care of yourself and go feed yourself.